Everybody, I'm Yvonne Williams with Back to Earth Creations, and in this video I want to do some troubleshooting with you guys for wire weaving. So here I am using an 18 gauge standard wire gauge by Parawire, like enameled copper, but this could go for any kind of wire really. I'm wrapping with a 28 gauge, and then here I actually have about an inch of 26 gauge, and I have it in a contrasting color because this is not going to be incorporated as a part of the weave. I actually have this here to behave as a spacer, because you can see when you get quite up close, sorry for all the paint and everything on my nails, I'm a mess. You can see here we've got a little bit more bumping. It's not as like perfectly even as I would have liked for it to have been. And I also experience a little bit of problems. I'll just show you without the spacer and we'll go from there. So I've done 50 rotations, and then here I've got 5 rotations of just rotating around one of the wires. So now I'm coming through and doing 2 wraps around 2. So there's 1. And then 2. And I'm just squishing it down nice and tight next to each other. And then I'm going to do 2 rotations around 3 of the core wires. And this is just one of an infinite variety of ways that you can do wire weaving. And this one, I'm not going to push them down close to each other. I'm just going to kind of rush through it just so you can see what's up. So you can see I'm just kind of, 2 rotations around each wire. And it's very loose, and we can take our fingernails and kind of like squish it down, but it's bubbled out quite a ways from the wire too. Like, it's not very tight, but it's good to do these things and to see what kind of results you get, because sometimes that may want to be a result that you want to emulate. It's all stylistic. Honestly, I feel like so long as it's comfortable to wear and looks the way that you wanted it to, then you did it right. So, but yeah, that's a very pillowy way of weaving it. But you can see if I were to come in with my nylon jaw pliers and flatten it, so that's it before, squish, and coming off, we have quite a bit of little bumping. And actually, that wasn't as bad as it normally comes out. So sometimes it works out way better than I think it will. But now I need to do 5 rotations to repeat the pattern around just the one wire, and it is really tight to get it in there. So I really have to like kind of push, and it pinches and distorts the wire a little bit. Sorry, it keeps going blurry. But do you see what's happening like right there? And I don't want to have to distort my core wires to be able to make room, though you can. So that's 2 rotations, 3, 4, 5, 6. And it's just not quite as perfect as I wanted it to be. And you can still kind of squish your fingernails in there and get it to be, okay, but it's not perfect. So what I've been doing is I use up a gauge, so if I were using 26 gauge here, I'd use 24 gauge for our spacer. And I'm going to bring it in. I don't want it to be in the way, but I'm giving myself just a little bit of extra room. And so now I'm going to do 2 rotations around the first 2 wires, and then 2 rotations. There's 1, and there's 2, and then 2 more rotations. Oops, bumping into stuff. I'd run over my wire, which I used 2 full arm spans, so about 10 feet of wire to do this weaving. But I'm going to be doing about that much weaving for this project. And then 2 rotations around both. And it actually looks like I get better results by keeping it pillowy as opposed to pulling it tight. So that was counterintuitive and something that I did not anticipate. I thought I was just getting shoddy at my wire working, but I was trying too hard to make it tight and even right from the get-go. And it seems like I get better, more consistent results by having it be nice and pillowy. So just repeating that weaving pattern as we're coming in. And sometimes the wires will get tangled up on the ends. That's okay. You just sort it back out. But now here you can see this has been holding, well, maybe this has been holding as a place saver for our wire to come in. So now I'm going to do isolating the wire that we want to be wrapping around. There's one. And I think this one slid away a little too far away on me. While I was weaving, and oops, I need to keep it up in there. So that's how it's looking. And smoosh. And you can see there's a little bit of bumping there on the bottom. Again, it's not perfect. But so now let's keep this pressed up every step of the way. And keep everything nice and tight and see what happens. So I don't want it, like, I'm right up in the way. There we go. There's 1, 2. Wheel it out of the way just a bit. 2 rotations around these guys. And in a perfect world, which we could make that happen, it might be a good idea to have one on like every other core wire that we kind of slide out of the way, abacus style, just to keep everything nicely spaced. I'm going to try like this. Maybe it'll focus better. So I'm just twisting it just a bit to get it, make up a little bit of room for these next stitches. That's what I'll call it, a stitch guide maybe. Then weaving back through. And it's as I come up and around, you can see I'm actually pulling quite tight with my thumb to encourage that to be the spot where my wire bends. Because if I can get all of my wires to bend in the same spot, then we won't have as much bumping on the bottom. Coming down, twisting that down just a bit. Again, getting it just scooching out of the way. And a lot of the times, I just don't mind having a little bit of natural variation in my wire weaving. But sometimes if you want it, I mean, immaculately just perfect, then this might be a thing to try. And if y'all have any techniques that you like to use to keep your weaving perfect, I'd love to hear them down below. And so now I've scooched our stitch guide out of the way and see how much more easily that just slid down and in. 2, 3, 4, and 5. And so now from there, we can come in and smoosh. It's looking pretty sharp. I like it. So that is just a way to some different troubleshooting, some different things you might want to try in your wire weaving to get different results. So, and also, a lot of the times, I'll go ahead and leave my wire just kind of funky down on the ends, but then just to make sure that it's straight as I'm coming along, you can come through and use these nylon jaw pliers and kind of just straighten it out a little bit. but I've found that it'll, so long as it's straight where I'm doing the weaving, then it ends up looking pretty all right. So the biggest a tip that I can give y'all in your wire weaving, if you're trying to do, you know, something new or tidier work or just what have you, is to kind of let it be what it's going to be. There's always another piece to work on in the future, and so long as you're learning, there's no wasted effort. So don't be afraid to experiment or to try something that, even if it seems counterintuitive, like leaving the wires pillowy and then smushing them. You'll get there. You'll do it. So if y'all have any questions, comments, or ideas, please leave them down below. There might be stuff popping up on the screen recommending other videos, or where you can like subscribe to this channel, or you can check out my vlog if you want to see some personal content. And then also please consider joining me over on Patreon to help make these free tutorials possible, as well as to see all sorts of behind the scenes content and different things. So I will see y'all in my next video, and until then, happy crafting. Bye!